Hi, I thought I should move us along a little bit. At this stage, you should have your development environment installed. You should have 100% in the here or not present category within Blackboard. If you don't, stop everything you're doing now and complete the work that is required to get that to 100%. I've said elsewhere what you have to do that, so please go do it now if you haven't got 100% there. Just a reminder that if you don't have 100% in that section by September 12th, you will be removed from the course as not having engaged enough with the material. Okay, so chapter 3, we're finally going to get to something a little bit more programmatic, and this is HTML fundamentals. So HTML is hypertext markup language, right? That's what the textbook says, and it is a language that allows us to display text, pictures, other things, right? It allows us to show content, and that's why it's so useful on the web. Now, content is different depending on what you're trying to do with it. So HTML describes a way of identifying content as different pieces so that different things can be done with it. So let's see what that is. Those identifiers are called HTML elements. And an element starts with an opening tag, then potentially has content, and then has a closing tag. The opening tag and the closing tag should look pretty identical, except that the closing tag will have it's actually that way, isn't it, right? A slash in front of the tag name. In this case, this particular opening and closing tag is for the heading H1, and it's to allow us to say this is a top level heading, right? So it's a title, if you like. Most HTML elements have an opening tag and a closing tag. Some, like the IMG or image element, do not, don't require it. So tags are written with the less than symbol, then the name of the tag, and then the greater than symbol. Okay, so that's the start tag, and then the end tag is pretty much the same, except we've got a / at the beginning after the less than symbol. HTML tags aren't case sensitive, right? But always write them in lowercase. I find these days when people write stuff in uppercase, it sounds like they're shouting, and that's perhaps not the best thing. White space, so line breaks or spaces or tabs, are ignored in HTML. So these two examples, this one with the P tag and opening tag and closing tag on separate lines, will render exactly the same one as this one, where everything is in line. The content, the opening tag and the closing tag are all in line. Now, there are lots and lots of different elements that are possible with HTML. This list, and I'm not going to go through this list, is a reasonable list of stuff that you'll probably find, but there are others. One thing that I can see that's missing is the input. Button is there, but input is not. Okay, so there's lots of other stuff there. You can read this list from the website as well as I can. I'm not going to go through it. There's our first level heading tag that we saw earlier. Just like any programming language, sometimes comments are worthwhile having. Maybe they're a comment to the programmers, or maybe they're a comment to somebody else. I know I have seen some websites that have put job advertisements in comments in the HTML because they're looking for particular people who may be delving into the innards of a company's website, and if they find that text within the HTML comment, it won't show on the website, but if you use the view source option in the browser, you can certainly see it. I know I have a website, Take a Number, and if we have a look at the view page source, down the bottom here, right down the bottom, let's see if I can make that a little bigger so we can see it, right? There's this gobbledygook comment. Now what that is that number there, or that list of characters, is the git hash for the commit that made this web page, right? That's so I can tell which commit in my GitHub repository for this website has made it onto the actual website. So it is sometimes useful to be able to do comments. Something you can add to a tag is an attribute. And attributes can do different things. Some of them have specific meanings. For example, if you use a hyperlink anchor or a tag, then that's what you use to put a hyperlink in the text, right? So this will show as iSchool homepage, and it will be underlined or take the appropriate link format for a hyperlink that the page has, and you'll be able to click on it and navigate straight to that https://ischool.uw.edu. Similarly, the IMG for putting an image in the web page has the SRC or source tag, and that lets us nominate the image file that's going to be displayed there. And this is, I think I said earlier, an example of a tag that has no textual content, and so it doesn't require a closing IMG tag. Sometimes it's good, particularly if we're going to be programming to make modifications to this page, which is what we're going to be doing in this class. It's good to be able to uniquely identify particular parts of the web page. So the way you do that is you use the ID attribute. And that allows us to uniquely identify this particular heading, my web page heading, so that maybe we want to change the title change the font, change the color programmatically for some reason. That allows us to reference that particular part of the website uniquely. You can also use those IDs to reference a particular part of the website. So if this page was example.html, then in order to get to this title, we would put a hashtag after example.html and put hashtag title, right? Or if we're just using a link on this particular page, hashtag title as the href, as the link itself, will take us straight to that title. Another useful attribute is the lang attribute. It's good practice to always add the lang attribute to the HTML tag at the beginning of the document, so the browser knows what language to expect in this document. And as I said, there's the empty element, the IMG. Some pages will actually use the closing slash, so that you don't have to have a separate tag. You could have a closing slash. Let me put that up so you can see it from behind my head. There we go. Right, so that's that. While that's no longer required in HTML5, if somebody is using XML and wants to validate stuff, then it may be a nice thing to do. Okay, you can nest elements. You can put, in this example, you can put the emphasis tags inside the H1 tags. That's perfectly acceptable. Just make sure that before you close the H1 tag, you close the EM tag. Otherwise, things might get a little confused. And one way to think about the HTML document is as this tree diagram, right? The top level tag, or the outermost tag, is the HTML, and within the HTML you'll have a head and a body. Within those you may have H1 tags or H2 tags or script or other meta tags. You might also have navigation or section or image or any of those tags within either of those sections. So there's a very simple example that doesn't have any heading, right? Doesn't have a head section, just has a body. And just to be clear, and I'm not going to go through it in detail right now, I might do another video about it later. This organization is called the Document Object Model, or DOM, right? And you will see in some JavaScript the acronym DOM used in some processing functions and variables. Depending on what the elements do, sometimes they're done line by line, right? So here the div element is a block element, so it goes from side to side, and then if there's two divs in a row, then the next one will be immediately below the predecessor. and sometimes elements are inline, particularly the span element or the EM element. They're inline, right? So if you have something, one span followed by another span, then they're going to follow on from each other on the same line. They're not going to be on separate lines like the block element was. Okay, quick go through the structure. Right at the top, you'll often see a document type declaration. This tells the program what to expect next, and in this case the doc type should be HTML, and then the next piece should be an opening HTML tag saying what the language for the remaining the enclosed document is about. Next, there should be probably a head section which may have a title. So browsers will show the title in the tab. So up here, right, Chapter 3 HTML Fundamentals is what it's saying. Let's oops, I don't want to see the section, I just want to see the view page source and see if we can see the title. There it is there, right? So let me just make that a bit bigger. So we can see it, right? There it is. There's Chapter 3 HTML Fundamentals Client-Side Web Development. And it's a bit hard to see here, but if I hover over that, you should see that same text coming out. It's a bit hard to see because I've got that client-side web development text. Let's see if I can turn that off briefly. Yeah, there we go. And then we can see that maybe. There we go. Right, so Chapter 3 HTML Fundamentals, pipe, client-side web development. Right, then there might be some meta tags, maybe saying what the character set is. Sometimes, particularly if you're using Greek or Russian, you might have a Cyrillic alphabet. It's nice to be able to render that. You might have meta information describing the website in the header. And what else? That's the head section. And probably should also then follow that with a body section, and that's what's shown in this template. Right there we've got our doc type, our HTML head with some meta information about the place and a title, and then the body, and then the closing HTML. Now I'm going to stop this video now. The next video is going to have a quick look at using Visual Studio Code to do something like that. But I'll stop this video now.